Chevy guys had their turn, and now the Ford guys are up. It is the Engine Masters Intake Manifold Showdown, Ford Windsor style. Man, I love when we get to do head-to-head, brand-to-brand shootouts. This time, it's different intake manifolds for a Ford 351 Windsor. These things are great because we're gonna give you not only the power numbers, but also the price, so you can decide what works best for you. Now, I'm gonna tell you about the intake manifolds that we're gonna run today, and then I'll give you the basics of the engine that we're gonna run them on. These are all street-type intake manifolds for a Ford 351 Windsor. Now, I feel comfortable saying that the results that you're gonna see here will also match up for something like a 289 or a 302 that has a lower deck height than the 351. I think these manufacturers all use similar designs for both the low-deck Windsor and for the 351. These are all dual planes. They're all for basic cruising, lower RPM engines, and we haven't got into single planes at all. I've sort of ranked them in order here based on the price that we got them from summitracing.com. There is the basic Edelbrock Performer, which is the lowest rise, lowest performance intake manifold here, but I chose it because Ford guys often have hood clearance problems, like on Mustangs and things, and having that carb pad height just be like 3/4 of an inch lower can make a difference. So we're gonna find out if that one's worth it for you, even though it's probably gonna make the least power. That one is $309.95 at Summit, making it the most expensive manifold in the shootout. The next one up is also an Edelbrock. It's the Performer RPM, the taller, more high RPM oriented intake manifold. That one is $304.95 at Summit Racing. Moving down the line to cheaper stuff, we get the Wyand Stealth intake. That one is $262.99 at Summit. And finally, there is the Professional Products Typhoon, and that one is our cheapest unit at $255.95. So the engine we're gonna run all of these on is that. It is a stock 351 bottom end, cast pistons, about 9.5 to 1 compression, nothing special. The power comes from those Airflow Research 165cc cylinder heads, and it's got a hydraulic roller camshaft from Comp Cams. It is their XR282. Every time we run one of these intake manifolds, we'll be topping them with my favorite carburetor, the Holley XP, in a 750 double pumper. We've got MSD ignition, we'll have long tube open headers on it. This thing should make in the neighborhood of 430 pound-feet, 430 horsepower. It's what it typically runs. And that is like right at the crossover point and RPM range, because this runs just a tick over 6,000, where you gotta decide between a single plane and a dual plane. And that means we're really gonna be taxing the airflow of all of these. So the one that makes the most power is definitely the best intake manifold. We're gonna bolt up the Performer first, slam it onto the 351, and roll that junk into the dyno cell. Okay, bros, you ready for Ford intake manifold shootout?
I love Fords.
You love them?
I love them.
All right.
They're almost as good as a big block Chevy.
It'd be better if it was a 5.0.
Well, or a 429 Boss.
Or that, yeah. Yeah, so it's just a 351, and right now we got that Pucci Edelbrock Performer on there. Of the 4 intakes we're gonna test, I feel confident saying this one's gonna make the least average power.
I haven't even looked at the Pro products. I'm familiar with the other 2 manifolds already.
They're usually
Is the
pretty
Pro
good.
products a knockoff of a Performer RPM air gap or something?
They're not air gaps, they're just RPMs.
Okay,
Yeah.
Performer RPM.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So we've seen this engine make 430 horsepower in a past configuration. It's different now. It's got a 165 head on it instead of the 195. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
I guess we find out.
All right.
Okay.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good.
Wow, I look like a chump. I didn't think this intake would make 400 horsepower. I really didn't.
It's a nice curve, too. It made good torque. It was just good everywhere.
So this is way better than expected. Look at that.
Look how clean the curve is.
That's what I'm saying. It's a
And
beautiful
then
curve.
Look at that torque hump there at 3,900 RPM. It's nice.
So we just made 425.2 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM and 419.8 horsepower up at 6,100 RPM. I did not see that kind of power spread coming out of this intake manifold.
You know what I'm impressed with? That's a 2,100 RPM spread between peak torque and peak power.
Which is probably more a function of the camshaft and cylinder head.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the fact that that intake manifold could pull off 420 horse nearly, and
make it to 6,100.
I'll eat my words. I mean, I still think the others are going to be better, but that's mind-blowing that it was capable to do that much.
Good.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy.
It's going to be fun. We hadn't done any Ford intake stuff yet, and be good to see.
Yeah. All right, let's go pick another one to install.
Let's flip coins.
What's next?
You want to flip a coin for which one to install next?
Nah, you'll decide anyway.
Okay. I have selected the manifold that I believe will be the next worst in line.
Should we guess? Can we guess?
I will say that they're all pretty similar, but they are different. Guaranteed different. Which one do you think I picked?
Professional Pro products.
Professional products.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I will say all these next three manifolds are extremely similar,
Look really
but I
similar.
very carefully studied what's going on in the plenum and the transitions and the port mouths in here and the floor design, and I'm gonna guess this is the next in line.
The particular China rail gap on this intake manifold and cylinder head combination is about this tall. The China rail itself is fairly narrow, so what we're having to do is I'm kind of patching one together, kind of building a wall. I put some silicone down, then patched a cork in, then I'll put silicone on top of that to build it up. I've done this before, and it sticks and holds and does a great job.
So we've gone with the cork and the sauce. Extreme measures here on Engine Masters.
Okie doke, I've got the manifold here. This is the Pro Products. We're gonna go in the control room and see what it does.
Right, we got that Pro Products on there. I think it's gonna be better than the Performer, but not as good as the stuff we're testing later in the day. But I've already been proven wrong once, so why do I keep speaking?
This intake manifold thing is always surprising. It's hard to just look at something and know what's better. But
Dulcich
it looks
can.
decent. Well, but that's Steve Dulcich.
Right.
You know, we're mere humans.
Oh, you guys,
You're the all-knowing engine
I
master.
really appreciate that, but I find it very hard to pick out on this particular test because the manifolds are so similar in configuration.
But if you really dig deep in that plenum, there's some differences. All right, let's fire it up and find out.
Okay.
Less chatter, more action.
Wow.
Here's our results with the Pro Products Power Plus. It made 431 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM, and then it tickled another 100 RPM higher than the Performer intake, making 435.7 horsepowers at 6,200 RPM. But the real tale is going to be when we overlay these curves with the ones from the prior intake manifold, the Performer.
Wow.
There you go. That's the Performer in red versus the Pro Products manifold in black. You can see it's a huge difference.
So far, you're right.
So far.
Well, that may be hard to beat, actually.
Yeah,
that
that's
Pro
pretty good.
Products is it's an animal. Look at that number, 435.7.
And you know, I always worry on this show that people look at that graph that shows the plus number peak to peak, and they don't get the whole story of how much more power is really there throughout the curve.
Yeah, it started diverging right here, and I think that's an airflow demand, and this manifold has the ability to do that, and the other one was a smaller volume-wise manifold and can't flow as much, but then the curves diverge, and gosh, that's 15 horsepower difference. And it didn't lose anything at 3,000.
Not at all.
So it's just a win-win-win.
Stout. Okay, we won't know how good it is, though, until we try the next one.
Unknown manifold. Yeah.
I will surprise you once again with which manifold I'm going to choose.
What that really means, Steve, is go change this manifold, get it ready while
Well,
he brings the
decides
other one
which
in.
one to get, right?
Well, now that you mention it, that is sort of a collateral effect of me having picked.
The benefits of being the picker.
Yeah. All right, let's tear it apart.
Okay.
Manifold number 3 coming next. Okay, guys, I'm surprising you with my next choice.
It's a 50-50 chance.
It is
It's either the Edelbrock or the Wyand, and I'm going to say the Wyand.
the Edelbrock RPM. Now, by power of deductive reasoning, you would realize this means I think the Wyand might make a little more power. Which is weird, because this is the standard.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
Wow, I get to do the drop, Freiburger?
You do.
Man, I've graduated.
Our third intake manifold here is the one that we normally consider the best overall for a street engine under 6,500 RPM. It's the Edelbrock Performer RPM dual plane. And the reason why I told those guys it was a surprise that I would pick this one is normally we would run it last, expecting it to make the most power, and it might. But I was looking at this versus the Wyand, and I don't know, I just had a hint of an inclination that the Wyand might make a speck more power, so we're gonna run the Edelbrock as the third intake. All right, this is the gold standard, the Edelbrock RPM.
It's the one everybody uses.
It's one I always recommend.
Yeah. But looking at these other two manifolds, I think it's got some competition here.
It does.
I'm just kind of going to have to reserve judgment until I see what we've got from the dyno.
He's smart. Okay.
Well, thank you,
I'm
Freiburger.
itching. I'm itching.
We're there. We're ready to run.
Run it.
It's good.
It's good. Is it better enough? Okay, well, here's the peak power numbers with the Edelbrock RPM. 435.7 pound-feet of torque at 4,100 RPM, and up top 435.2 horsepower at 6,200. But what we gotta know is how it compares to that last Pro Products manifold. So we're gonna overlay the two here.
That's what I was seeing.
Interesting.
Wow.
So the black lines here are the Edelbrock Performer RPM. Red lines are the Pro Products intake manifold. Look at all of that meat in the torque curve right there with the Edelbrock.
Guys pay a lot of money for that. I mean, that's a huge difference.
Yeah. That's
Kind of what I
big.
was seeing as the RPM went by is this torque in here, and then the peaks look the same.
Yeah, and up top, the horsepower is negligible. Actually, the Pro Products is just a little higher after peak, but insignificant. Wow, that's interesting. So this is the difference in $50 and American-made Edelbrock versus Chinese Pro Products.
That's a $50 difference?
I'd spend the $50.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look at that. That's a lot of meat in the torque curve right there.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
That's why it's the gold standard, right?
I guess so. So I feel comfortable saying that the RPM wins that contest, and you'd probably notice it, maybe not just driving around the car, but at the drag strip. I think that's worth a little.
Yeah, it's a bunch.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just can't give it away even just knowing.
Right.
I mean, how do you give away
Right.
15 for $50?
Yeah, you can't. Now the heat is on me, though, because I claimed that the Wyand might be just a skosh better. Can I define skosh? Can I
Yes.
go down to like half a number?
No.
Is that okay?
I had my $5 bill out, so I don't know.
So interesting. Next up, we have to go install the Wyand. I don't know what the fancy name is for the Wyand.
You bought it.
I know. It's
Stealth.
Wyand.
Is it a
stealth? Is it a stealth?
I think.
All right, moving on to the Wyand intake now.
Swap them out.
Now it's just parts.
Well, on the dyno, we often get away with reusing intake gaskets over and over and over, but we've hit our limit. So for our final manifold change here, we're actually installing new ones. I need the Wyand to work so that I look like the airflow soothsayer.
The manifold whisperer.
Exactly.
That's a worthy goal, Freiburger. We're about to find out whether or not it's true.
All right, here we go with the Wyand stealth intake that I'm hoping makes a tiny bit more power because I believe it's got a little bit bigger runner size and a little bit more plenum volume.
Well, I wish you luck with it, Freiburger. I mean, I really
I've got no idea.
I want this win on your ticket here.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Freiburger.
All he cares about is the peak power number.
It looked like
That's the only reason you're happy, huh?
Right, that's the only reason. Let's have a look. All right, our Wyand Stealth intake manifold. Here's our peak numbers: 426.5 pound-feet of torque at 4,100 RPM, and up top 436.7 horsepower at 6,100 RPM, thereby making me look like the Nostradamus of intake manifolds,
Wow,
at least as far as peak horsepower goes.
How did you predict that, Freiburger? It's uncanny. Wow.
Hard to say, but let's look at the overlay because I have a feeling that the
I don't
torque
think the torque is quite
not
as good.
quite where I want it to be. Whoa, there you go.
Whoa. Oh my goodness.
The Wyand is the black line and the Edelbrock is the red line. So even though the Wyand tickled a little bit more horsepower up at the top, that volume I was talking about in the runners and the plenum absolutely destroyed the torque down here. So you gotta say the overall winner is our old standard, the Edelbrock Performer RPM.
By a long shot. Look
By
at
a
the
long
torque
shot.
difference.
There's as much as 15 here.
Yeah.
You know, we're looking at 415 versus 432, 17.
Yeah.
Like 434,
Now that's
419. Yeah.
That's massive.
Well, you know what
Yeah.
that is? That's the difference between a power curve and a magazine number, basically.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, look at that.
I mean, it tickled up maybe 2 horsepower, which really, even though it makes me win, it doesn't matter whatsoever when you look at this.
If we looked at the average numbers, it'd be a whole different
It'd
story.
be hideous.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, here's the question. If this was a 408 and had a slightly bigger cam, would the Wyand be the right thing to run? No?
I think
Still?
it does the same thing.
Think it does the same thing?
yeah.
I think it may
Yeah.
just do everything, you know,
Shove it
a
up and
little
down.
earlier.
Yep.
But I think the characteristics would be the same.
Well, the thing I feel good about is that we always say the Edelbrock Performer RPM is the manifold to choose, and you don't go wrong, and I think this backs that up.
You know, I don't know what sort of math they use, but they did it right on Fords and Mopars and Chevys and big blocks and small blocks, and it's just
Everything.
amazing, really, how universal that thing is.
So next up, I think we need to look at how the Wyand did compared to the Pro products intake. Oh, snap.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Pro products is better than the Stealth, below 4,000 RPM and identical up top. Interesting. I wonder if that has to do with the larger plenum size and runner size that I was observing in the Wyand.
Yeah, you would you'd think that, but then wouldn't you also think that it might carry a little bit more at the top if it's,
There
if
you
it's a
have it,
volume
yeah.
situation?
Yeah, it's
so.
just not
yeah.
as good at the bottom and pretty close from the mid-range on up.
Interesting. Here's the last thing I want to do. Let's compare the Performer RPM versus the Performer, our best and our worst.
Okay.
Let's have a look. Look at that. Mm-hmm. That explains a lot. Back down here where there isn't that much airflow demand, they're much closer and they get further and further apart as they climb. So the black lines here are the Performer RPM and the red line is the regular Performer. So if you are a Ford guy looking for a lot of hood clearance and you need that Performer, you now know exactly what you're giving up. And here's something you guys don't know. You know what the most expensive manifold is that we tested here?
The Performer.
The Performer at $309.95 at Summit Racing, and the RPM is $304.95.
Well, it's $4.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You talked about a bigger motor, and I said that I thought they would do kind of the same thing. If it were a 289 cubic inch engine with these manifolds on it, do you think that we're going to see that sort of difference when there's not the same air demand? I think the
it'll narrow
Performer
up.
does better.
Yeah, it'll narrow up.
You think it does better?
I think it tightens up the difference.
It tightens up the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But here's the other thing I've always said is no matter how lame your engine is, you can't really go wrong with the RPM.
No.
You and I tested one a long time ago on a stock Chevy 305 that made like 280 horsepower, and actually the RPM was the same as their Performer. It just made no
Okay.
difference.
Okay.
Which is why I think if you're gonna spend the money, you might as well get the better one, and it looks cooler anyway.
Yeah, it does look cool.
What's it all about, right?
Well, good stuff.
Yeah, that was a really good test. I love doing these head-to-head shootouts, and I think it's interesting that the Performer RPM won when we did the Chevy, and it did it again on the 351 Ford.
The thing I like about this is it's engine specific. The guy with a 351 gets to see which manifold he wants to choose. It's not theory, it's not kind of guessing at things. I mean, it's A/B testing.
It's exactamundo. Cool. Thanks,
Done.
Brule.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. See you
All right,
next time.
Steve-o.
Just the facts, Dulcich.
Okay.
The
what?
data bears it out. The Edelbrock Performer RPM is the clear winner. The data proves it.
Well, yeah, it's the old standard, and it's kind of nice to see it win. But for me, there's a whole nother takeaway, and that's you've got 4 intake manifolds that virtually to the untrained eye look identical. But there's 16 horsepower difference top to bottom, which is a lot.
It's huge, yeah, all through the curve.
So you can't just pick your favorite logo and just slap it on, right?
Well, you can, apparently, if it's Edelbrock.
Well, I guess you're right.
The thing I really like about episodes like this is I think there's a lot of outlets that are scared of doing the brand-to-brand shootout, and we just walk full face right into it.
Oh, yeah, no fear.
No fear. That's what you get every time on Engine Masters.
I don't know what the beef is here, but
really?
if you have
wanna go
something,
there?
if you have something to say,
You want to go there?
why don't you just let it
I'm
out?
done here. Forget it.
Hey, you walk out of here, you're not coming back. There won't be a shop
I'm
to come
shutting the
back
shop
to.
down.
Hey, you're gonna
No,
have to.
it's all over.
You're walking
It's
past.
all
You're
over.
walking past
It's
me.
over.
You're walking past me, buddy. All right, you're out the door. You know what? It's gonna be a lot better without that guy. Brule, you want to help me with this Ford?
I stand tall, the world at my feet. Every dream that I dare to seek. The sun burns bright on my skin. This is the